back to another episode of the Tea in the Net. The Tea representing Uncle Iroh, and the Net, the Apostle Andrew, two people who I feel like hold the spirit of adventure, wisdom, kindness, and having a positive impact on people. This is Joe Atea, who Mena believed had some of these traits, and we're going to find out which one Joe thinks he has.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
So, do you have. I perceive you to be very adventurous. Do you think that's why Mina thought you would be a good fit, or do you think it's one of the other things?
It's definitely not the kindness, so must be on the adventurous side.
Would you call yourself adventurous?
I think so. I don't know, like if I aspire to be adventurous, but I like to do things, and I don't typically do normal things. In a sense, I guess I'll go off and try things and figure it out. So I think so. Never would have thought of myself as adventurous before you asked me, but I think it does fit.
When you say you don't do normal things, are you saying? Yeah, sorry.
Well, I don't follow, like, I'm not, I went through a typical academic path, like many of us, high school, college, graduate school, got degrees, but then, when I hit roadblocks, I didn't let that stop me. So I wasn't like rigid in what I was in my education and where I ended up in my career professionally. So I sort of like made like water and let it flow, I just found new opportunities and was able to have the flexibility to be able to try different things that would be non-traditional. So I ended up becoming very entrepreneurial in that sense. So that's one way to think about it. Professionally, I've been forced to be adventurous, I guess. Socially and recreationally, I like to go out and do things. I try to interact with different people and get to learn from different people and different types of people. So I don't want to just be with like-minded people, like people I think like me. I like to have diversity. So I realize that I don't know it all. Recreationally, I've done, I like to do a lot of different things, I guess. So I guess so. That was a babbling answer for your simple question, wasn't it?
No, that's great. That gives me a choice of follow-up questions. So, which one do you think was which do you think was felt more adventurous? Like the entrepreneur, like the starting your own business. I guess I'm gonna struggle pronouncing that word, but the recreational stuff or the social stuff. Which
Oh, probably the social and professional are probably like professionally. I think it's definitely become more adventurous. Uh, I mean, over the last, it's scary when you say it, but now over the last 30 some years of work, it hasn't been really a straight line. And this sort of forced me to become adventurous and that's sort of becoming an entrepreneur. That's one big one. Socially, it's just like I'm willing to go out and talk to people and just, it's funny. My Jeremy and Jasmine always make fun of me. Like when we're out someplace, they're like, look, Mom, Dad's just talking to some random guy again. Just like say hi to someone and ask them a question about what's going on wherever we are and like sort of strike up a random conversation. And I find that always interesting.
do you make like genuine friends that way, or it's mostly just like in passing moment?
I think both. I think I make genuine friends like that as well.
So professionally, I don't know. I actually don't know anything about your professional life. So you hit a roadblock. You said make like water, and you just kind of flowed to things. But I perceived like starting your own business to be maybe for you is like a natural thing, but I feel like that's a really big barrier of entry. Like that takes a lot of work, and I feel like falling into that is kind of rare. Maybe I feel like usually people have to pursue that aggressively because it's a lot of work and there's a lot of barriers.
Oh, you definitely have to pursue it aggressively. You have to be persistent. You have to be stubborn, and you hit a lot of roadblocks. So it's not an easy path, but it's just sort of when you fall into that path, um, the need to actually like put your head down and push into it is a definite characteristic that I think you're right about. Is like it is hard work, but the willingness to be able to do it or identifying those opportunities is the other part, the fluidity of it, right? So I was, over the last few decades, like I said, I came in and I ended up going to real estate development construction with my family. My brother was an architect, so I ended up going to work with him, taking over our family business. But then the Great Recession started in the early 2000s, and it really hit us pretty hard professionally. It was like the real estate market we were in Michigan came to a screeching halt. I mean, really came to a complete halt. And having to figure out what I was going to do to support my family, my brother to take care of his family. We had grown this big business together, and we had to shift. And then that's when I decided to go to business school, and I ended up going to management consulting. And I realized that management consulting was I really didn't enjoy it. It was like, to me, it felt like 21st century factory work. And I was trying to get out of management consulting and trying to get a real job, in a corporate gig. And I realized that I wasn't hireable. I was either too experienced or underexperienced for every role I was trying to get. So it was a real challenge on how I transitioned. And then it just sort of stumbled into franchising. Mary came across a concept that she really liked, and she started pursuing it. And then they finally said yes. And, she looked at me, she's like, okay, now what do we do? And I'm like, I guess I'm going into franchising. And I went into that, and it was very challenging to do that, but it was a way out of management consulting, and it helped me support my family. But it was a lot of hard work getting into that business model and doing the sales and marketing and getting people to really follow you on a very close basis when you're in that sort of business that I was in. And I guess it's just that sort of flexibility, but you are definitely right in saying that, like, it is hard work. Like right now, I've sold my last business, and now I want to start being able to coach and lead other business owners and help them through their paths and eventually get an exit on their businesses. And now I'm starting to do exit strategy consulting, but it's a lot of hard work trying to find clients and convince them that I'm valuable to them and convince them to be willing to pay me to work with them. It is hard, yeah, but it's enjoyable. Threw you off there, huh? I threw a bunch of curveballs at you.
No, I just want to ask a meaningful question. Um, that's that's really interesting. I see your point where it's like there's the fluidity in making the choice, but once you make the choice, then the hard work comes, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm curious because it must have been a big choice to do it, right? To switch to franchising, right? Like I can't imagine she just came to you and you were just like, oh yeah, let me just finish writing this email and then like I'm gonna turn around and put on my franchising pants on.
No, it was a big choice. You're right, and it was hard work. I mean, when we started that first business, I mean, it was a completely different world going into the retail business, basically, is what it was. And I had to build out our space. So I was involved with construction management. I had to figure out how to get members signed up. So I had to market and sell the new business model locally, which was a brand new concept to the region and to the area. And then I had to hire both salespeople, front desk people, and hire and train coaches as well. So putting that all together and trying to do it as fast as possible, because that was the way we were going to take care of our family, was a lot of work. I mean, I was probably sleeping while we were in pre-sales and construction and getting open in that first business. I was sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night. I was waking up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, like, oh my God, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. It was a lot of work. Yeah. definitely wasn't just flipping a switch. Had a lot to learn and had a lot to like train other people and get people to follow me. Was a lot of effort.
Yeah. So there's two questions I want to ask because so on the one hand, I'm curious to see like I want to know how you made that decision to kind of take that leap because I mean it sounds like you probably had like a salary job that was like moderately comfortable maybe before or not maybe I don't know that's just kind of what I understood. Then the other kind of question or direction I want to go into, I think you said a couple of things that implied the need to be a good leader for these things to succeed. And so I kind of also want to tug at that string. So I'll give you the choice for what you think you
Well,
want to. Yeah.
going to the first part, it wasn't really so much as leaving. It was realizing that I needed to get out of something and just waiting for something to open up in front of me. So sort of like it was just like it was that dissatisfying of where I was that it just needed something else, and then it sort of fell into my lap with my wife being a stubborn woman that she is and finding something that she liked and thought would be really good. But that's, I guess, answers that first part where it wasn't I left something. It was more like I just didn't want to be there and seeking something else, which is, that's think about like just in life in general. Like a lot of times we're dissatisfied with something and we're looking for something, right? And you're waiting for basically anything to fall in front of you. And a lot of times it ends up being bad things for people because they just want to get out of something. They just take whatever's in front of them and they go down a wrong path, or it can turn out to be a very positive path. For me, it ended up being very positive. So from that standpoint, it wasn't really like a choice. It was more like I just needed to change.
Okay.
And I found it.
So it's one of those things where the opportunity just met like fertile ground and you just
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I like that. That's a good way to put it. Opportunity met fertile ground. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think, so I have a friend who, like, he has like or I don't know if he still does. I would say he probably doesn't anymore. But like there was a time where he really wanted to start his own business because he just wanted to like retire early.
Yeah.
And we're software engineers, so he's working on software stuff. And there was he has a like he works at like an Alphabet, like a Google owned company. So he's getting paid pretty well. So there's like not a ton of motivation for him to quit his
Yeah.
job unless he knows things are going to work out. And I think I was always kind of curious to see when if he would quit his job, because the opportunity cost is like so great for him. But it's not like he hates it. Like he likes software engineering, and he wanted to replace his current software engineering job with one that was better for him, basically.
Yeah.
And
And he's got the golden handcuffs, huh?
yeah, I guess you could say that golden handcuffs, right? So it's interesting to see how your situation is different, because it wasn't like I'm just gonna do the same thing, but now I own it, right? Like you're like I got to get out of this thing, and here's an opportunity for me, and then so I'll take it. So then, yeah,
Well, I
I
think
guess the risks were, yeah.
the other part of that for me is that having grown up in the household that I grew up in and entrepreneurial parents, I didn't really see it as golden handcuffs because I was willing to take time without making an income and putting an investment into something and to wait until I get the value out of it. So, I was fortunate being brought up the way I did and being trained and the experience that I had, that I was able to take that flexibility and not be stressed out by that. So a lot of people, like most, I don't know if most people, but a lot of people, it's like, they need to get a paycheck. They need that regularity. You want to work 9 to 5. And when you leave work at 5 p.m., you don't think about it anymore. I'm not wired that way. So that did give me the ability to be able to take this leap, unlike some other people who are just like, until they have something that's solid in front of them, they're not willing to take that risk or chance or delay gratification.
Yeah, delayed gratification, I think, is an interesting choice there because I think delayed gratification usually implies that you're pretty confident that it's going to work out. Like I think it's a little different than risk, right? Because
Yeah,
like
but whenever there's a delay, there's always a risk.
I suppose, but like in the
That's
same
the
way that
time
like
value of money.
sure, but like for example, like when you work out, that's like a delayed gratification where like sure there's risk, like, but like the risk is like pretty minimal, right? Like if I work out, I'm not going to become immediately stronger today, but like after I recover, I'll be a bit stronger, or I'll look a little
Yeah.
bit better, or a little. And so, like barring an accident or something happening between the recovery time, like I will very highly likely get the reward. It's like the same, like so some risk, yes, but it is a delayed gratification. Whereas I feel like starting your business, there is a delayed gratification part of it, but there's also,
There's a
I mean,
risk. Yeah, I get.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's a risk where
there's
like
a
it
risk.
never happens through no fault of your own, right? Like you could just
Yeah,
lose all your money, or you can just break even, or whatever.
yeah.
So I think that was just an interesting choice because I never viewed it as a delayed gratification thing. Like for me the scary part of it was always just that it doesn't work out at all. Not that it wouldn't work out at some point.
Well, one of the things I've sort of learned over the times as well is like, something might not work out as well as you want it or the way you want it to, but the end result depends on your effort. And if you don't, like, I didn't have a choice. Nothing was going to fail. I was going to get out of it. I was going to take care of my family one way or the other. I didn't have a choice. And that was what was really, like I said, I went back to like, I didn't know what I was doing when I got into this thing. And it was just pure brute force of getting us open and getting into work. I mean, every obstacle came along. I just had to sort of push my way through it. So that's the thing about entrepreneurs and business people is like, you can't take no for an answer. You make it work once you figure it out.
Yeah. I'm just personally not like that. So I
Right.
very much take no for an answer, like on a regular basis. So it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting to see. Yeah,
and that's fine.
yeah,
But that self advocacy is incredibly important when you're running your own business because everything wants either you're doing something that isn't already there, so you've got to impose it on the world. You really do have to impose it on the world. But when people come in to work with you on it as well, they want to do. Human nature is to do things the easy way, or do it the way you want to do it, and you got to get it done as an entrepreneur the right way. And that's actually the risk of the entrepreneur as well, is like you're so busy trying to do things right and perfect that it like pushes a lot of people away. But that's why a lot of business owners and a lot of entrepreneurs, they really struggle to grow though, because they do everything themselves.
yeah. I see that with a lot of the Egyptian
Micromanagement.
pizza owners.
Yeah, it's micromanagement.
Yeah,
That's the only way it's going to be done right is if I do it myself, and I've got to be there at 4 a.m. because nobody else is going to show up there at 4 a.m. Or you don't trust anyone to do it the way you're going to do it at 4 a.m.
so that also reminds me a little bit about the like leadership. Like those are leadership qualities that you're talking about now.
Yeah.
So then, do you feel like part of the reason you're able to succeed is that you were a good leader, or did you become a good leader for this to succeed?
It's the other way. I wasn't a good leader. I was pushy. I was stubborn. I was, I was very demanding because I had so much on the line, and I had to learn how to coach and motivate and teach. And I had to learn how to get to the point where I could count on other people and influence them to get the results that I wanted. I listened to a very smart person recently, and it's like getting to the point where you learn that success comes in the agency of others. That is when you become a leader and a real business owner, a real entrepreneur. But success comes in the agency of others. It's how can you amplify yourself and get others to work on your behalf to accomplish the goal. And they all don't have to work at 100%. I mean, that's the other true insight is like, I know myself, I'm going to do it perfectly, and I'm going to do it well. I'm going to do everything great when I do it myself because I'm the one that owns it. And realizing that if I get 2 or 3 people to do it at 80%, that's better than me doing it at 100%. They don't have to do it perfectly. Just have to get them to do it well enough.
Okay. Yeah, well enough.
It was a very hard lesson for me to learn. It was very hard for me to learn how to do that. And I
I think
think
it's yeah. Sorry.
when you look at America, I think it's very hard for many business owners to learn how to do that. That's why you have so many just small businesses in America. It's because the owners are just there doing it themselves. You know, they might hire 1 or 2 people, but they can't grow because the business is so owner dependent.
Yeah. It's a very hard lesson to it's a very hard lesson to learn, and I think the evidence for that is we can look at our church community and see how many leaders haven't learned it. Um,
Yeah.
and then the, there's a term for that in like corporate America. It's like called like the bus factor. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's
The what
like
factor?
the bus factor. So it's like if how many people have to get hit by a bus for this to fail, basically. And if the answer is 1, you need to get someone else on board to understand how these processes work, or we can trust this guy to do the thing. Because what, like one day you're sick, or one day this guy quits, or and then that's it. We don't do this thing
Uh-huh.
anymore. Um, and it's kind of interesting. Like in a small business, like I think for in a small business, you don't really think about it because like obviously if the owner gets hit by a bus, the business is gonna fail. Like it kind of seems obvious, but if to your point, if you want to grow, uh, or have like greater success, right? You probably you need to have some ability to delegate.
Yeah. Delegation, one of the big things I learned as well is originally I thought of delegation as a way to get work off of my plate. And that's not what delegation is. When it really struck me and when I really started to become successful was when I learned that delegation is a leadership tool for development. You don't delegate to get work off your plate, you delegate to develop your people. That's was really huge for me to learn. Not dumping work on you so that I have less work to do. I'm dumping work on you because I want you to be a better person, better employee, better team member.
Yeah, when you say that, it's very obvious. But no, when you say that, it's very obvious.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how hard it is still for people to, or how rare. Maybe not rare. It's not the right word, but it doesn't seem like that's the immediate understanding in the people I know. So I think
Yeah.
that's yeah.
I agree. I don't think it is. In fact, I think most people, when they get work delegated to them, they feel like it's just getting dumped on them. And it's so a big part of the delegation is the communication of the why you're giving them the work and the assignments and the tasks. And to let people realize that, like, look, the reason I'm working with you is because I want you to be more valuable to me. And one of the things that I learned for me personally, and this might not be very common, but I also recognize the fact that we are not going to work together forever. You are going to move on into another job at some point or another role, either for yourself or for someone else. I want you to learn with me the attributes and skills that will allow you to be successful, not only with me, but wherever you are in your future. So that communication, I think, was really important to help people realize that, like, I'm not just being a jerk to you to try to just push you to do more for me. It really is for you. Like, we'd have new people start with us and they'd show up late for work, and my managers would get upset and they're like, this guy's like, he's a slacker, he doesn't show up. I'm like, well, have you talked to him about it yet? It's like, no, he should know he needs to show up on time. I'm like, why? It's obvious you need to show up at work on time. I'm like, why? You don't know what that person's experience is. Their previous job, it might not have mattered when they showed up. They could have showed up late and their boss didn't care at all. So for them, they were trained that way to know us. Until you tell them, like, it's important for you to not show up just on time, but to show up a little bit early, because that's what's going to allow you to be successful here. But also, all your other jobs, they will appreciate that more. That's the coaching and development part. Don't assume that things are obvious. Like, when you say it out loud, it's like, of course, you're supposed to show up at work on time. But like, when you're an employee, you're like, why should you show up at work on time? There's no penalty if you show up late. You're going to learn to show up late.
Yeah.
And that's the management part, right? Is like the not. It's like, how do you talk to somebody, not talk down to them, and treat them like they're ignorant or children, but also coach them so that it is developmental and improves them and me as well.
So, I guess, so where did you learn that? Like, I know that you definitely lived it through your work, but plenty of people, I feel, start their small business and maybe even franchise, or I don't know, they start their business and they don't learn that. So I'm curious where you learned that. Did you just experiment and find it that way, or did someone mentor you, or what happened?
Um, I don't know if it was a specific thing. I think one of the things I'm always doing is I'm always trying to learn to do things differently. So whether it's I'm going to different conferences and talking to other professionals, whether it's podcasts, reading books, all the leadership books I read, um, probably it's a combination of it all. You know, really mixing everything together in my experience, whether it was the book Extreme Ownership, Tribal Leadership, the E-Myth, or listening to people like John Warillo, or the COO of 800 Got Junk, Cameron. I can't remember what Cameron's last name is right now. Um, or even just like learning how to run the business when you go to franchise training. And it just took the experience of working for a long time to actually just sink in. Now, one way I can explain this is I was talking to a friend of mine. I have a PhD in economics, and I was talking to a classmate of mine recently. She's a professor at a university, and she's like, do you feel like you wasted your time getting your PhD in economics? Like absolutely not. I use the attributes of what I learned academically all the time I work. It's the way I function. It's the way I think. And she's like, well, don't you think like getting a PhD was a waste? And I go, no, because you know what's funny? As an economist, I learned everything I needed to know as an economist in my first semester of economics, my first class. But it took me 10 years to actually understand what I learned in that first semester. So it's like you need to go through that experience. I mean, this is like as a father and as a friend. And, we talk about this all the time. It's like, my kids are only going to learn. I can tell them to do things, but they're only going to listen when they experience things themselves and either succeed or fail in that activity. And then they'll come back to me. It's like, oh yeah, you were right. So it's like that process is really key. I mean, time is what, if anything, to answer your question, it was just time that was needed for things to develop and grow inside of me.
Well, I think for you, I think it's time because you get to have a lot of experiences because you're adventurous and you have a business. But I think, like to your point about your kids, like it's an experience that they get to have that they had as time went on. But I think it's like the actual experience of the thing that you're learning, right?
Yeah, but it's also that willingness to admit that I don't know everything. And I call it I feel like life is full of these dichotomies, and I say I'm flexibly rigid. Like if you meet anyone that talks to me, they will always tell you I'm a very rigid person. I'm very rigid. But I have this flexibility about me where I like whatever I'm doing, I do it in a very intense way. But I also realize that at any moment, what I'm doing is not the best way or the wrong way, and I need to be able to change. And it's that willingness to be able to flex is big. I mean, you're a football guy, right? It's basically like, football used to be always like, these are the plays. These are the plays. You run this play, that's it. And then what do they come up with? The option plays. They took the quarterback option and they developed that to everything is an option play. Let's make the read, and we're going to have that flexibility. So now you set the plan up with the play that you're calling, and you have a couple options in it, and now we have that flexibility to work within that framework. But that didn't come about until you had someone like Pat Walsh. I think it was Pat or Bill Walsh, whatever Walsh, 49ers back in the 90s, who developed that sort of concept. And, football was around for 100 years before that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, for me, by the time I started watching football, the options were all there.
Well,
Yeah.
that's all they did. But to think that like it's the obvious way to run an offense, right? But it took 100 years for us to figure that out.
Yeah, what you're saying reminds me a bit of like strong opinions loosely held.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
No, it's I'm starting to see that as a good way to live life. Mena mentioned that, and I talked to someone else who mentioned that as well. Um, I have I won't say an aversion to it. I have this thing where like if a 20-year old ever says something with like their full chest, I always have a hard time with it because like it's not that you're right or you're not right. It's I just know that you like I have a hard time believing that you have developed the expertise or lived the life enough to say this thing with your full chest. Like there's always something like for me I often say like my understanding is or I believe or like what I know about this thing is, which like maybe weakens my like aura or whatever, but at the same time like I couldn't like go up to a person and just be like, this is how the world works, and say that with like, because I know that in like 6 years, I'm sure that I'm gonna learn something that's gonna completely like change my perspective on that thing, like, and so the strong opinions loosely held, I think is currently like something that I'm trying to develop because I think it makes sense, even though like I've heard initially when I heard that phrase it was like an insult, right? Like it was like it means you're wishy-washy, right? Like all right, like you're willing to fight to the death, but then I can just like show you a fact, and then you're gonna be like, oh, I was wrong, and like but that's actually like how you should be. Like if someone proves you wrong, you should admit you're wrong.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Is like you've got to be, coming back to what you asked before about the adventurous. I like to talk to different people. I like to talk to people who have different opinions than me. Like to understand because you got to also realize that there isn't only one right answer to most things in the world. The world is complicated, right? I listen to this economist every week speak. He does a podcast called Econ Talk. And one of his points that he brings up all the time is the world is complicated, right? There isn't one right answer. I mean, that's the beauty of living in America. There isn't one right answer for anything. You want food? Go out and get food. McDonald's isn't the right solution. Neither is Kava, neither is Chick-fil-A, no nothing, right? There's a million ways to do it. And every one of those businesses are insistent that they've got a great business, that they've got the right business, right? Religion is something similar, right? There's no one religion. There's no one, you can think of all problems, whether it's psychological or economical, whether you take which aspect you take, you potentially might come to the same conclusion, but you come through very different roads, very different paths. So it's that recognition that, there are different schools of thought. You go to college, there isn't one major, right? You can major in a billion different things. There's no right answer. Everyone's got different desires, needs, wants. And that's what gives that there. And it's that recognition that there isn't only one way to do everything as well.
Yeah, it's interesting
I mean,
that you
look
say
at you.
that.
You've got a long beard. I've got a short beard. Which one is right?
People keep telling me that you're right.
And those are the people that have no beards, right?
Yeah. Actually, interesting that you mentioned that you can go the different ways and come to the same spot. I just bought like a dress shirt from State and Liberty, which I don't know if you know. It's like a suit brand or something. Whatever. It's like, and I was there with my brother and my mom, and my mom was saying, "Oh, it reminds me of like Lululemon," and Mark was like, "Yeah." They kind of like State and Liberty was like, "Let's try and make these like suits more comfortable," and so they ended up at the same spot as Lululemon, who made like athletic, comfortable wear, and then we're like, "Well, we can just make nicer clothes too," and so now they have like overlapping products, and they came from completely different spots, and yeah.
And that's funny. At the end of the day, what's the real thing was comfort. The real thing was comfort, and it's like recognizing that, because it's funny. Yeah, exactly. And for a long time, you couldn't have comfort if it was high end, right? If you were supposed to be dressed nice.
Yeah, which.
And if you had comfort, it couldn't look good. That's the other part.
Yeah, it was like a great state of chagrin for my family. Like even up until a few years ago, where like we would go to like a nice steakhouse, and it's like it's not for any event or whatever. Like they just want to go out to eat, and so I'm just coming home from school, so I'm like wearing like sweatpants and a sweater.
Yeah.
And Mark is literally like, "Dude, we're at a nice steakhouse. Like, why are you doing this to us?" There was no dress code. Like it's not like I was studying, and we're going out to dinner, and I'm gonna go back to studying, so I'm just gonna wear what I was wearing.
Yeah.
And now that's like not the case at all. Like I used to hate wearing suits, and now I'm like very happy because I like the way they look, and I like the way I look in them. But I just don't want to be in them for like 30 minutes. But now I don't care. Now they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Like now they're as comfortable as anything.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like I used to wear nothing but jeans. Wore jeans all the time. I love jeans, and now like I put on a pair of jeans, and they're the most uncomfortable things in the world. It's like I wear jeans maybe once a month, and I don't know why I put them on.
It gives you your rugged look.
Yeah,
You're a mountain man. You're gonna do your hike and ski down it. Like you gotta wear something that makes you look like a tough guy.
yeah, but why? They're so uncomfortable to do any of those activities in them.
Yeah, no, I actually feel the same way. Like for me, jeans used to be like the comfortable choice because other than that, I'm gonna wear like these stiffs. But now, yeah, they're like if you get like an actual fully denim pair of jeans, it's like I feel so immobile now because I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's the thing, is like, right, is like let's really learn that it's if you ever read like The Undoing Project, or Danny Kahneman and Ivan Tversky's book, Think Fast and Slow, you realize like they're really psychologists that ended up coming up with economic principles, and they were basically meshing the two schools of thought to come up with their theories and ideas. And it is because when an economist talks to a psychologist, they're very different drivers for human behavior.
Sorry, are you saying that they came up with the same ideas from different like?
No, they meshed the ideas together to develop their more robust ideas, which they ended up winning a Nobel Prize for their thinking. But I mean, my point there is that like economists think that everything is incentives and benefit and costs and opportunity costs. Those sorts of analysis are involved in anything. Psychologists are all from some other thing drives all behavior. So you have very two different worlds of the way behavior is driven. But
Yeah.
the end point is like trying to explain how behavior is coming, how behavior results.
Yeah. I don't have a follow-up to that. I don't know what the, like, I'm not familiar with them. It's kind of interesting. Like, you're clearly very well read. I've never heard of any of the books that you've read. Not that I'm like super well read, but I like to read. So I'm probably gonna pick up one of the books that you've mentioned. It's there's so many books and so many categories of books, right? Like, where like things that are like, you know, the Bible in a certain field, where you feel like, oh, everyone should read this. Everyone should read this. And it's like people haven't even heard of it because, well, it's like
there's 1,000 Bibles.
Yeah, exactly. There's 1,000 Bibles. I have 3 Bibles on my bookshelf right here. Like a literal Bible. I have a quantum computing Bible. I have the programming Bible. I have like, yeah. That's. I guess it also goes back to your point about you know, the world is complicated. There's 1,000 ways to do it, even if people view their thing as the right way. Yeah. So it's 11:55. I know you said you had a hard stop at noon. So I appreciate you coming. This was pretty insightful. I really enjoyed this. So thank you for your time. I would appreciate it if you could come up with someone to introduce me to that you think would be a good person for this. If you can't, that's okay. But if you can, I would love to have them on. So if you have any parting words of wisdom for my 5 subscribers.
All 5 of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. My parting words of wisdom is just keep following Micah, because this quest is really cool that you have this and that you're being proactive about it. So just keep going.
Thank you. All right. Have a good one, man.
I
appreciate the time.
See you, Micah.
See
Bye.
you.